speaking to you from Shahjahanpur border. This is the border between Rajasthan and Haryana. This is where one of the Kisan Morchas has been camping. This is exactly where many colleagues from Karnataka came, from Andhra Pradesh came. Since this is my morcha, I'm on duty here today. We have finished our black flag protest and effigy burning and marking the Buddha Purnima. I do not want to repeat what all of you must have already said. You know it better than I do. But just a quick 2 or 3 reminders, and then I will move to the main thing that I want to speak about. Today, as you all know, there are 3, in fact, 4 special occasions that have coincided. Today marks the exact 6 months since we gave the call for Delhi Chalo. Today is also 6 months of the trade union movements of India, having started a struggle against the 4 anti-labor codes. Today also happens to be the 7th anniversary of the Modi government, because Modi's first government came into being on this day in 2014. And the coincidence is that today is also Buddha Purnima. I will start with the last because some questions have been asked about it. Friends, if we take the central message of Lord Buddha, the message that has come to us through Buddhist texts and so on, it says 3 things. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. The first one is that I take shelter under Buddha. This is not about a person. This is not about a god. Buddha is Buddha because he is the enlightened one. So the first thing that farmers would say today is that I take shelter under enlightenment, under truth. Farmers represent truth. Farmers are standing for truth. Farmers are fighting for truth. And on this day, we shall also pray and hope that those who rule this country also have sadbuddhi, also have enlightenment. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami is that I take shelter under Dhamma. Dharma, as you know, is not religion. Dharma is something deeper than that. Dharma is not religion as in Hindu, Muslim, Buddha, and so on. Dharma is about sense of duty, about righteousness. So farmers are on the path of righteousness. That is the message. And third is Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, which is that I take shelter under the Sangha. Sangha, the Buddhist Sangha, as you know, is the form of organization. For the farmers, their farm union is that Sangha. I'm just connecting these 3 in order to underline the fact that organizing a protest for the righteous cause, for truth, and on the orders of the organization cannot possibly go against the spirit of Buddha Purnima that we seek to celebrate today. I will not speak in detail about the 3 anti-farm laws. You must have already spoken. We have all discussed that in great detail. I will not repeat that. In Karnataka, we have a special context because in Karnataka, you also have the Land Reform Act brought in by the government, which becomes an additional source of problem for the farmers. But we must have discussed that. I will not repeat that. I do want to say something about the 7 years of Modi government. I had an occasion 3 years ago to write a book called Modi Raj Mein Kisan, which was about how this government has treated the farmers of India. And I had systematically argued in that book that Modi Raj is the most anti-farmer government that India has since independence. Today is a day to underline that. And I would simply say, I want to list 7 questions that we must ask on this 7th anniversary. So as we say in Hindi, 7 saal, 7 sawal. 7 questions on the 7th anniversary. I would simply repeat that here because it might be useful for us to speak to the media, might be useful to take this message to all our cadre. The first question we should be asking is, Mr. Modi, you said you would double the farmers' income in 6 years. We are already in the 6th year. Now, tell me, what have you done? How much has the farmers' income increased? The fact, friends, is that in the last 6 years, Modi government has not even released any data on the real income of the farmers. The government merely formed a committee, and that too halfway through. That committee says the farmers' income must grow by 10.4% per year for their income to be doubled in 6 years. That's simple mathematics. What has happened so far? If you look at the government's own statistics, the average growth rate of agriculture, they call it GVA, gross value added, is 3.3% per year. Remember, they needed 10.4%. And they have delivered only 3.3%. The actual income increase in the farmers' income will be even lower than this. Now, this is lower than the growth achieved under the UPA regime for 10 years. Now, I'm not saying UPA regime was good for the farmers. I'm saying that they did not declare any such mission. Their growth rate was more. These people have declared a mission and their growth rate is lower. This is the reality. The second question that you all know, I will just remind you, is about the promise of Swaminathan Commission. As we all know, instead of implementing the Swaminathan Commission, which they had promised, Swaminathan Commission said, give C2 plus 50% as MSP to the farmers. What has the Modi government done? First of all, they gave an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying this is impossible. This will distort the market. And later on, what they did was that they changed the definition of cost. Instead of C2 plus 50%, they said A2 plus FL, which is a partial cost. They said we will add 50% to that. So without making any real change, they said we have already implemented. Even if you go by that, even if you go by the MSP declared by the Modi government in the last 7 years, the fact is that annual increments in MSP have been lowest in this period of the last 7 years. If you compare Modi regime to UPA 1, UPA 2, and the Vajpayee regime, the annual increment in MSP is the lowest during this regime, which has talked maximum about MSP. This is the truth. Third question we should be asking this regime is about the famous Fasal Bima Yojana, which they talk about all the time. Now, you would remember when Fasal Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana was announced in 2015, at that point, Modi ji said, look, all the previous Fasal Bima Yojanas are useless because only 23% farmers are covered under it. We are bringing a new government, a new scheme, and under that scheme, we will increase the cover in the first year to 30%, then 40%, then by 2018, it will become 50%. Gradually, we will make it 100%. Friends, now it is 5 years since the scheme came into being. How much has the coverage increased? Initially, it was 23%. Yes, Mr. Modi was right. Second year, it went up to 28%. Third year, it came down to 24%. Then it went down further. And in 2020, the coverage is 13%. So the great achievement of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana is that instead of increasing the coverage from 23% to 100%, It brought down the coverage from 23 to 13%. Even Gujarat government, BJP's own Gujarat government has said, we do not want this scheme. Please withdraw it from our state. This is third. Fourth question is about drought relief, flood relief, calamity relief. The last 7 years have seen 2 national droughts, which many parts of Karnataka have also faced. Massive floods in Kerala, a historic and unprecedented drought in Tamil Nadu, massive floods in Assam and Bihar. What has the record been of the government? Compared to all other governments of the past, whether of Congress or BJP, the last 7 years have been some of the most indifferent and cruel handling of drought and floods, calamity relief. For the first time in the history of this country, this Modi government went to the Supreme Court and said giving relief in calamity is not our job. That is the responsibility of state government. This is on affidavit in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, your government is ostrich-like. This is the written remark of the Supreme Court on the calamity management of Modi government. I will not talk of the other calamities that they have brought in, calamities like Notbandi, demonetization, calamity like lockdown. These are Modi government's own calamities. The fifth question is about cost of production. One of the promises of this government was that we would reduce the cost of production. What is the record? Look at 3 major things: fertilizers, diesel, petrol, and electricity. I do not know about the electricity rates in Karnataka, but I can tell you throughout the country, by and large, the last 7 years have seen unprecedented increase in the electricity rates. These years have seen massive shortage of fertilizers and increase in fertilizer prices. And you must have seen the latest drama of the government. They first increased the price from 1200 to 1900. Then they say we would give you subsidy of 700 rupees. So you will get something of 1200 rupees in 1200, but it will be called subsidy. This is drama. And on the diesel and petroleum, the government says it is because of international prices. What can we do? No, sir, that is not the case. Please remember simple facts. The day Modi government came to power, international prices of crude oil were $103 per barrel. Today, it is $67 per barrel. So it is 1/3 less than what it was when Mr. Modi took power. The diesel prices, I can tell you, for Delhi, on that day was 55 rupees when Mr. Modi took power. Today, it is 84 rupees. So international prices have come down by 1/3, and the market price of diesel has gone up by 50%. This is inflicted by the government. The sixth question is about import-export policy, which has been systematically tailored by this government to favor trade and against the farmers. Whenever farmers had the slightest opportunity of earning something, the government opened the floodgates of import or placed export restrictions. For potato farmers of North India, the government said there is a minimum export price. Below the price, you cannot even export. So restrictions were placed. The fact is that when the government took power in 2014, on agricultural things, we had a surplus of 1,59,000 crore rupees was our surplus. In the last 7 years, our exports have come down. Our agriculture imports have gone up. As a result, today, our surplus has come down to 1.02 lakh crore rupees. So actually, it has reduced. The seventh question, as you all know, is about these 3 laws that the government has imposed without consulting the farmers, without asking them, without their representation, without their consent. wherever we go, we must ask these 7 questions to this government. And the answer to these 7 questions gives us only one conclusion, that this is the most anti-farmer government in the history of this country. I just want to say one more thing, which is for us to think about. Today, everyone asks us, farmers' movement has been going on for 6 months. What have we achieved? What has this movement achieved? The 3 laws have not been repealed. Where do we stand today? What is the future? Friends, I want to say to all of us that this great farmers movement has already achieved 3 very big things. Number 1, it has restored dignity and self-respect to the farmers. A farmer's child used to be ashamed of saying that my father is a farmer. Today, the same child, the same son and daughter, they carry a poster saying, no farmer, no food, no future. I love farmers. It has restored dignity and self-respect to farmers. Number 2, it has made everyone aware of the political clout of the farmers. No matter what the government says, no matter what the BJP spokespersons say on television, the fact is that all of them know that this has been a misadventure. And no government will have the courage to actually do something like this again, because they know, as they say in Hindi, we should not take panga. Taking panga with farmers is a very costly business. They have realized this. And the third big achievement of the farmers movement already is that it has united the farmers like never before. Today, all these friends, all the farmers, leaders and supporters, sympathizers have gathered in Karnataka for something which is being done on Haryana-Rajasthan border, which is being marked in Punjab, which is being marked in Bengal, which is being marked in Maharashtra. We have never witnessed, at least I do not remember, this kind of farmers' unity in the last 40, 50 years for which I have some memory. This is extraordinary unity of the farmers. Yes, 3 laws have still not been repealed. I should also mention that in North India, at least, farmers' unity has managed to erase Hindu-Muslim divide, which the BJP tried to create. It has erased the Punjab-Haryana differences that the political parties had tried to create. It has erased the boundaries of caste, which were being created. So this is an extraordinary historic unity of the farmers that has been achieved. What about the 3 laws? Yes, the 3 laws have not been repealed. But I tell you, and I say with all seriousness, that no government of this country will ever have the guts to actually implement these 3 laws. Modi has made it a matter of prestige that he does not want to give in writing. His representatives come to us and informally say, Baba, sir, aapko pata hai na, ye कानून तो खत्म हो गए, अब आप क्यों आज जिद कर रहे हैं? खत्म हो गए, हम कभी लागू नहीं करेंगे इसको. So I say, okay, these 3 laws are dead. I know that, but I want to have a death certificate before I leave. That is what the struggle is about, which is what we are trying to do. Which is finally linked to our responsibility and our roles. And I will end by saying this. I think this farmers' movement of the last 6 months has suddenly given farmers' movement all over the country a new life. Those who ruled this country had assumed that farmers existed in history. They had put farmers in the dustbin of history. They had forgotten that farmers exist in this country. This movement has put the farmers back on the radar. It has put the farmers back on the mindscape of this country. Now it is our task of farmer leaders, task of farmers organization, task of intellectuals, task of activists everywhere else, to strengthen it, to take this forward. This would mean some intellectual work. This would mean some political work. This would mean coalition. It would mean intellectual work in that now intellectuals of this country have to come forward and spell out a future for Indian agriculture. Farmers' movement may not have that blueprint with them. Farmers are fighting their economic battle, but they also have ecological challenge today. What kind of future do we see for Indian agriculture? That is the question that remains to be answered. Some academics involved in rural studies have come up with a very decent document recently. Those are the kind of things we should debate and discuss today so that we can show the farmers' movement. There was a stage when Professor Nanjit Swami, Kishan Patnaik, others had come together in order to provide farmers with a perspective and an understanding that lasted for 20, 25 years, and then it faded. Today, we must give farmers movement a new blueprint for the next 20, 25 years. That is our responsibility. Second, there is a organizational responsibility. This farmer movement has made farmers visible all over the country. So if now someone with a green shawl goes back to the village, they would be heard more carefully. So it is time to now intensify our work, go to villages, have young cadre. When I come to KRRS meetings, I see a lot of very energetic friends, but I do not see as many people with black hair as I would want. This is the time to recruit people with black hair. This is the time to bring young people in, to energize the movement. And third and final, this is the moment to develop coalitions. This is the moment for us, for everyone to come together. Remember, this movement has succeeded so far because of coalitions, because we agreed to work together, because 32 farmers union in Punjab who never sat together with each other, they sat together. Because Sanyukta Kisan Morcha brought together more than 400-500 farmers organizations which have never come together, because trade unions joined the farmers, because Dalit organizations in Karnataka supported the farmers, because women's organizations came to support the farmers, because student organizations came. This is the moment for unity. This is what we need to take forward. My last message, friends, is that today the farmers are fighting a battle, not merely against the 3 laws, or in Karnataka against 4 laws. They are not fighting a battle only against the 7 years of Modi regime, which has been anti-farmer. They are fighting not merely against the agenda of corporatization of Indian agriculture, which is behind all this. The farmers are also fighting the battle for restoring democracy in this country, for reclaiming the Republic of India. Karl Marx in 19th century said that proletariat is the vanguard of history, that they lead the struggle which takes history forward. Farmers are in a similar situation in today's India. Farmers are fighting their battle, but they are not only fighting their own battle, they are fighting the battle for the entire country.